Hello everybody, RHSportsTV here, and this is the March 22nd thing. I couldn't record last night because I had people over at the house, so I hope this will work. So the first game was Albany versus Duke. Albany, you know what? Albany played a decent game. They didn't play to win, but they played to keep it close, and they did that. They played the Duke team pretty well. I mean, I'd say it's pretty good. So Duke ousted Albany. Good win for them. They move on to the next round. The other one, Ole Miss versus Wisconsin. Woohoo! I actually picked an upset. Ole Miss. Marshall Henderson started 1 for 13, and Ole Miss still beat Wisconsin by double digits. I don't know how the hell that happened. Wisconsin was just inefficient on offense, to say the least. Just not good for Wisconsin. So Ole Miss will move on to the next round. Next up, NC State versus Temple. NC State, I didn't fall into their trap in the preseason. I had them predicted as about a 4 or 5 seed. And they ended up falling to an 8 seed. So they underachieved in the preseason, or during the regular season again. This time, though, they got beat by Temple. Temple, the team who can't win, especially Fran 1 and Dunphy, who moved to 3 and 14 all time in the NCAA tournament. Good job, NC State. Good job. Mark Gottfried better figure out what's wrong in Raleigh, because his seat's starting to warm up a little bit. But good win for Temple. They're on to the next round. And the other game, Pacific and Miami. I didn't expect Miami to lose this one. I didn't expect them to even have a close game. And I was correct. Pacific's coach, I forget what his name is, 25 years, and he's sent out with a thud. But it's nice that they did get to the NCAA tournament in their last year, not only with their head coach, but also in their last year in their conference. They're headed to Gonzaga's conference, the West Coast Conference, so that's kind of cool. Next up, Cincinnati versus Creighton, a game I expected to be pretty even, and it was. Doug McDermott wrecked. He definitely put the Creighton Blue Jays on his back. Weird foul at the end. Just more proof that the flagrant foul 1 rules need to be changed at the very least. But it didn't matter. Creighton ended up taking out Cincinnati. Cincinnati was a team I had doing some damage. I thought Cincinnati was going to be a little bit better than this. But, well, I mean, preseason, not before the tournament. I figured they'd lose this one. And if they didn't lose this one, they'd lose in the next game. But anyway, Creighton wins. They're on to play Duke, a team that really they don't match up well with Duke at all. Doug McDermott's in line to pretty much be neutralized by Ryan Kelly. So Creighton's gonna have some other factors step up for them if they're gonna beat Duke. But I can hope, right? And the other one, LaSalle pulls the shocker over Kansas State. In the second half, Kansas State came out with a type of fire that really I thought that was going to propel him to over LaSalle. But Angel Rodriguez, the sophomore guard, just whiffed on his final 3-point shot. And because of that, the Explorers, the winner of the play-in game against Boise State, are into the next round, and they will play Ole Miss. So 12-13. That's kind of cool. I always like when those type of matchups happen. I don't remember the last time it's happened. It's probably happened sometime recently. I think it actually happened in 2011 between Richmond and Morehead State. Morehead State. I'll explain that eventually. But anyway, K-State goes down. That sucks for them. But LaSalle versus Ole Miss should be intriguing. Next up, Indiana versus James Madison. Indiana just kind of took out James Madison. I didn't expect this one to be close. It wasn't close, so I didn't expect anything different than what happened. Indiana's on to the next round. They will play the Temple Owls. And the other one, Illinois, they kind of toyed with Colorado. They destroyed them in the first half. And then Colorado went on a giant lead, or a giant run. And then Illinois went on a giant run, and they ended up closing them out for the win. The Illini are on to play the Miami Hurricanes. Next up, 2-15 versus 2s. Iona versus Ohio State. I had this one being close. It wasn't close. Ohio State ends up being big winners from this day. Just because the entire west region around them is unstable. New Mexico, you know, going out. K-State going out. Wisconsin going out. Gonzaga got put on the ropes by Southern. So Ohio State beating Iona very, very convincingly in the second half. And the other one, Georgetown. Oh my goodness. I don't know what's wrong with Georgetown. They just cannot win an NCAA tournament game for the life of them. This is the 5th straight year, I believe, that they've actually been dispatched by a double-digit seed. And, yeah, that's not good for G-Town. They had a lot of momentum around them, but they fell to Florida Gulf Coast, a team that is in their 2nd year of Division I play. Well, they had the transition years, but this is their 2nd official year. It's a college that's been around for only 22 years. It's only 6 more years than I've been around. They were opened in 91. This is their first ever NCAA tournament appearance, and somehow they actually beat Georgetown. So Florida Gulf Coast is on to the next round. Villanova, I actually had pegged beating UNC. I don't know. Something about UNC kind of made me feel, you know, mediocre. I didn't really. Well, it did make me feel mediocre. Made me feel like North Carolina was mediocre. But I don't know. I don't know why I didn't notice Nova was mediocre. But Nova's players for the most part didn't really chip in as much as they should have. They did come back from a very early deficit, but the Tar Heels are on the next round. And the other one, Northwestern State, got destroyed by Florida. Come on, Northwestern State. I had you pegged to doing something. Closer than a 32-point game, at least. I mean, you're the highest-scoring team in the nation. 47 points? I realize Florida's defense is better than they've seen for quite a while in the season. Probably maybe the best that they've seen all season. But come on. I said yesterday that this was, that Cal versus UNLV was one of the games I would have switched to an upset had I thought about it, but I didn't. This was the other one, Notre Dame versus Iowa State. Iowa State ends up easily beating Notre Dame. They'll play Ohio State, a team that they can legitimately beat if their three-point shooting is on. And I know Fred Hoiberg is definitely going to have this team ready. He's definitely one of the game's best young minds. On the other side, Oklahoma versus San Diego State. Oklahoma with really a chance to do something here with Georgetown being dispatched of. But San Diego State ends up winning. Jamal Franklin stays in it, and he and the San Diego State Aztecs will play Florida Gulf Coast Eagles. So San Diego State could be in the Sweet 16. Or we could see the first 15 seed of all time in the Sweet 16. Who knows? This might be the 3rd or 4th time I've said this during this entire tournament. But Minnesota pulls an upset in numbers only, really. Come on, I mean, Minnesota is, I think they were actually favored to win this game. If they weren't favored, they were pretty damn close. But UCLA, just Shabazz Napier had a good game, but nobody else on the team did. And it looks like that's the end of the college career for Shabazz Napier. He had a good year, not as great as some people expected, not as bad as some people expected. A completely average year per expectations. But Minnesota, the ultimate Jekyll and Hyde team. They've been much more Hyde than Jekyll recently. 5-11 in their last 16 games. Some people said they didn't belong in the tournament, and they won their first game over UCLA. So the Minnesota Golden Gophers will play the Florida Gators. Don't expect the Gophers to win that one. Their three-point shooting success against UCLA, definitely a mirage in my opinion. But we'll see. And then the other one, Western Kentucky versus Kansas. Kansas was actually on the ropes versus the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. Luckily for the Jayhawks, they were able to get away from Western Kentucky. Jeff Withey, definitely the most important player on the Jayhawk team. I don't know if they would have lost without him, but they definitely would have been a lot closer. So the Kansas Jayhawks will play the North Carolina Tar Heels. Definitely controversial matchup. Controversial seeding by the tournament people by making the North Carolina Tar Heels and Coach Roy Williams head to Williams' old school, the Kansas Jayhawks, in Kansas City. And I agree with them. That's kind of stupid. But I agree with him mostly because Syracuse has to deal with the same crap in Cal. Well, because they're going to be playing 30 minutes away from Cal and 2,200 miles as the crow flies from Syracuse. So that's kind of stupid. But shorter video this time just because I'm not explaining anything really. Don't have much to rant about. So this is it for this episode. This isn't an episode. This is, I don't know, I'm in gaming mode. This is it for this this recap, I guess. I don't know. This has been RHSportsTV, and I hope you stick around. Comment on whether you even halfway expected the Georgetown to lose. I kind of did. I had Florida Gulf Coast pretty highly seeded, or highly touted. I thought they'd be a pretty decent 15 seed, but I also thought Georgetown was a pretty good 2 seed. So comment on your thoughts of that, I guess, or just comment about whatever the hell you want to.